paper towel. This is our Great Value brand paper towel. Again, doing the same thing for this. Placing the rubber band to secure it in place. I'm putting the beaker container underneath it so that it will catch the water that is left over, that is not absorbed. And finally, my last beaker, I will place the Bounty paper towel over the top of this one and secure it down with a rubber band. So while I'm securing this down with a rubber band, one good thing is always to have your procedure list with you so you know what the step-by-step procedure is. I'm going to do one experiment at a time. The first thing we need to do is measure 30 milliliters of water. I've actually measured this very close to 30 milliliters. It's at about 27 milliliters right now. In order to fill it up, I want to get down at eye level, possibly use my pipette and another jar of water, and slowly add to get it right at 30 milliliters. We want this to be our control. So, we want to make sure that each one of our graduated cylinders is exactly at 30 milliliters to make the experiment more valid. Keep in mind we should be observing throughout this entire process. The first paper towel is Viva. I'm going to just slowly pour it over the top onto the Viva paper towel. Slowly pouring. It is absorbing the water now. I can see the water absorbing to the edges. It's almost to the edge of the beaker lining already. Still slowly adding the water. I don't want to add too fast because it could possibly fall off the edge of the jar. That would make my experiment invalid. There it is, the last of the water, and I can hear some of it dripping into the beaker. I'm going to let that set for about 30 seconds or so to make sure all the water that can drip out of the paper towel actually drips off of the paper towel. And I'm going to move on to my next one, which is Great Value. The Great Value paper towel. Again, I have my graduated cylinder and I want to fill it to 30 milliliters of water. Using my pipette, I can slowly add water to this graduated cylinder. Now it's exactly 30. Don't forget about the meniscus of water as well. If you're not sure what that is, ask your science teacher, they'll know for sure. Alright, I'm at 30 milliliters of water. Now we're going to pour onto the Great Value paper towel, and I will kind of speak my observations as I go. Slowly pouring it on. It's already absorbing to almost the edge of the beaker. So I'm going to try to pour even more slowly. Remember, this is the 2-ply Great Value brand paper towel. It is absorbing almost past the rubber band already, which is on the edges. That may have an effect on the experiment. Still adding water. It's about 3/4 of an inch absorbed past the rubber band mark. Still adding water, and I can still see the absorption moving to the edge of this paper towel. No water's leaking on the ground though, so it must be absorbed by the paper towel. I'm going to let this one set to the side for a little bit and bring in my last paper towel. My last paper towel brand is the Bounty. And I have one last graduated cylinder. I'm going to go ahead and fill this to 30 milliliters. Again, make sure your measurements are very precise so that we keep this as a control in our investigation. Perfect. Right at 30 milliliters. Here we go. Bounty, the last paper towel. Again, pour very slowly so that it doesn't spill over. And I will speak my observations as I go. I'm pouring it on now, It's absorbing, and it's already absorbed almost to the edge of the beaker. This one is absorbing much more quickly to the edges than the Viva or the Great Value brand. Is it because of the speed I'm pouring it, or is it because of the paper towel brand? I continue to pour. It is now absorbed past the rubber band by about 1/2 inch and still absorbing. Pouring very slowly onto this Bounty brand paper towel. I can still see the water absorbing into the edges, past the top of the beaker. And I'm down to the last couple drops. There it is. Now I'm going to put this one to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and measure my first paper towel. I noticed now that I have a wet spot. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a wet spot. This beaker has absorbed water around the edges, but it seems to have lost a little bit of the water. It must have ran down the side of the beaker and kind of collected around the bottom. So that may throw my experiment off just a little bit. Pay attention to those observations when you're doing your experiment. Here's the Viva that we did about 2 minutes ago. When I take the rubber band off, I can measure what's left, and this will be the amount that was not absorbed. Taking a beaker, make sure there's no water in the bottom of it. Be sure to get every drop so you can get your measurement as close as possible. Get down at eye level when you're checking your measurement on the graduated cylinder. Mine is at exactly 25. Make sure you record your data. 25 milliliters remaining for my Viva. That means it must have absorbed, well, 30 that I started with, minus 25 would be 5 milliliters. So record that data too. All right, next one. I'm going to move on to the Great Value paper towel. This one I can notice that there actually is a little bit of moisture around the edges of the beaker. That might be a good thing to write down in your observation log. Place the paper towel to the side, again making sure there's no water left in the bottom of the beaker, the graduated cylinder, and let's pour this beaker into your graduated cylinder. Oh yeah, getting every drop. There we go. Now, get down at eye level to check the measurement of the graduated cylinder. This one appears to have about 18 milliliters. If you want to go to a third significant digit, you could say 18.3 milliliters, but I'm going to stick with 18 for now. Make sure to record that information again. Now we started with 30 and now I have 18, so this one must have absorbed 12 milliliters. 12 milliliters absorbed. Seems to be a little better than Viva, which was only 1 ply, and Great Value was 2 plies. Thinking of that research. Again, a lot of moisture left behind by this one on the jar, as well as some left behind on the table. The paper towel is extremely wet right now, very saturated. And I'm going to take what's left in here and pour it into my last graduated cylinder to get my measurements. Every little drop counts. Get down at eye level once again and see how much is left. This one appears to be right at 16 milliliters, which means we've absorbed 14 milliliters in the Bounty, but there was some left behind. So Bounty, 14 milliliters absorbed, 16 were left over in after the experiment. Now, you don't want to do the experiment just one time. You want to repeat it multiple times so you can make sure that your information you collected is valid. So make sure you repeat that experiment multiple times, and then you can put it together in a chart with all your data. Don't forget to record those observations in your own personal science log.